Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, and together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com.
Oh, you know, Rabbi, we're very conscious in this show about law enforcement. And we've had a lot of people on the show, who are sheriffs and elected officials, but we really never had a prosecutor on the program. So someone that I've known for 30 years, Fred Altman, he's an attorney in the town of Colonie, and he's also the prosecutor, assistant attorney for the town of Colonie. And he prosecutes vehicle and traffic. So when you get a speeding ticket, you might either see him or another gentleman, Stan Siegel. But you know, before it goes to the judge, it goes through the town attorney. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
The town of Colonie, what do you prosecute? A major, like what if someone burglarizes a house?
Vehicle and traffic.
No,
Just that's it?
That's
Just
it.
I handle,
minor.
my duties are vehicle and traffic, which are traffic infractions and certain traffic misdemeanors. Other crimes like the one you
More
mentioned
major, yeah.
might be arraigned in our court, but then are prosecuted by the district attorney's office.
The county.
County, yes, in Albany, David Soares.
Right. So what have you seen? I mean, wait a minute. First of all, you've been doing this for the town for how many years?
Since January of 2008.
Okay. So in your 6 years that you've been doing this, what have you seen as the trend in terms of vehicle and traffic law? Is it really distracted driving, or is that just a misnomer?
Well, no, there is a lot of distracted driving, and the trend has also been a lot more enforcement for a couple of reasons. It might be the enthusiasm and efficiency of the police departments, and we have 3 that feed into our court.
Manans.
No, Manans, the village of Manans
Okay.
well, that's Colony Police, but they have their own court.
So who are the 3 that feed into
We
it?
have the Colony Police Department.
Right.
We have the State Police,
Right.
Troop G headquarters, which is in Latham,
Latham.
and the County Sheriff.
County sheriff. Okay.
Yes.
So but they don't all, do they all feed in for vehicle and traffic?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Let me just, you know, it's interesting. I saw statistics in the 60s, so correct me, I'm sure you know more than I do, but it just was like traffic deaths were 50,000 something, in the 50s, and now it's in the 30s. So you could say, well, maybe there's obviously many factors to any situation, but
Well,
one of them is just seat belts. You know,
Well, cars are safer in general.
yeah, cars are safe for seat belt, but
Seat
part of
belts,
that's the police
airbags,
seat belt enforcement, and you know, drunk driving, they say, is, you know, used to be poo poo poo. You know, okay, you're a little bit, you know, you say in Hebrew shikr, a little drunk, and now they've you know, cracked down. I mean, these are the
Well,
things
they've lowered
that
the
you see.
limits. I don't handle DWI, but DWI enforcement, particularly in Albany County, has become much more stringent, and for good reason. And although there still are tragedies involving people drinking and driving when they shouldn't, there probably are fewer, although there are still too many.
Mm-hmm.
But the other, you mentioned distracted driving. The state of New York recently increased for the 3rd time the penalty for using a cell phone when you drive, or texting. And,
Are
and
you allowed to use a cell phone, though, just on a side note, if you have it on speaker?
No, if you have it on speaker, if you have a true hands-free device, a Bluetooth type device, then it's fine.
All right.
But if you're holding it in your hand and operating it and speaking, and the car is moving, and the
Yes.
officer sees you, then you're going to see me probably.
So,
Yeah,
so you can't put it on speakerphone and hold it and talk?
No,
you just put it on the seat.
you can
next
have
to
it on
you.
speakerphone, but it has to be hands-free.
Okay.
Now, there are certain exceptions in the law about activating a function, but basically, if an officer sees the vehicle moving, the phone in your hand, the law is written in a kind of an odd way. It
Arcane
says,
way, probably.
you
yeah.
can say that. If it's in your hand, in the vicinity of your ear, which is
Yeah.
basically if it's in your hand.
Well, like this, yeah.
Yeah, and if they see it and you're moving and you're talking, your lips are going,
Here's my prop.
then
Okay.
the officer's pen is going.
Okay.
But it is a safety. I mean, talking on the phone, you might argue, is not any more dangerous than drinking coffee.
Or putting on lipstick.
Or, well,
I have seen women do
but
that.
texting
Not
is
men.
very dangerous. People have been
I don't
killed.
know how they do that. I don't know how for like 3 seconds I try and I just can't.
Don't even do it
Deal
for
with
3
it.
seconds, because when you're doing this, and then you're not looking at the road.
You're right.
And things happen like that.
You know what?
And
But
in fact,
even-
there was a tragedy right on the Northway last year. Where
Yes.
3
Oh.
people were killed.
Because of
And it's
texting, they know.
texting among other substances,
Right.
but it was texting, yes.
And it was, but even when you change the radio, and you're looking down, now they got the radio controls on
That
the,
could
on
be a
the steering
distraction.
wheel.
Oh, yeah.
But you change the your
There
radio
are many
dial.
things, but cell phone use and texting has been elevated from no points to 3, and it's now 5 as of June of last year, June of 13.
And if you get more than 12 points on your license, it gets pulled.
No, if you get 11 points
11,
in an
all right.
18-month period, you lose your license. Or if you get 3 speeding tickets in an 18-month period, which could be as few as 9 points,
Right.
you'll lose your license.
So have you seen more speeders coming in front of you?
Quite a few. We do get a lot of, because of the crossroads of Colonie, we have the Northway
Right.
running through the town, and the speed limit, and for your listeners, the speed limit at
It's
all points in the
55.
town of Colonie is 55 miles per hour, not 65, as many people find out the
It
hard
doesn't
way that
become
it's
six
not.
on the Northway. It doesn't become 65 until after exit 8A.
When you go over the Twin Bridges into Clifton Park, it's about 2 miles into Clifton Park.
Not even.
Where it
it's before
changes.
Clifton Park, but it's 8A. Clifton
Roughly.
Park is exit 9. but-
Okay, then it's before,
Before
it's
8A,
before
yeah.
exit 9.
So
It's
if
about
a
2
state-
miles over the bridge.
Yeah.
If a state trooper picks somebody up on the Northway, then you're going to see them? I mean,
In the
even
town of
though-
Colony, if it's in
Yeah,
the
I
town.
know.
If it's in the town of
Yeah.
Colony, then I will
Yeah.
likely, or my partner will see
Yeah,
them,
whatever.
yes.
I have to ask you, why are there so many people who are parking on the sidewalk? But I don't ever see anyone park on the sidewalk.
Well, you're referring to a ticket that people often get called parking on the pavement, which is a ticket that is rarely given. It is in the book and it is a legitimate ticket, but we commonly use it. If somebody has a clean record and is deserving of some consideration, we use it as a give them a break ticket because it carries no points, it doesn't show up on your license, but you do pay a fine, which is set by the court. But it's basically a give them a break ticket.
There are so many people who park on the pavement.
There are a lot, yes.
And I
There
just never
are,
see them. I just see that it just.
Yes, but there are a couple of, people have a right when they come to court to not just plead guilty, they have a right to do that too,
Yes.
but they have a right to attempt to present their case through a negotiation, a plea bargain process, and that would be to me or to Stan.
And then the judge has to
Well,
still
then we'll make a
approve it.
recommendation based
Right.
upon various factors, based upon the person's prior record, based upon what the arresting officer might have had to say in the supporting deposition, based on a number of things, whether there was an accident involved. And we'll make a recommendation to the court as to what we feel would be a fair and just plea, which usually will involve some reduction. And then the judge can approve it or not
Right.
and set the fine.
So
So
the judge does, I mean, for the most part, or maybe you can give a percentage, when you make a deal with, an offender, would the judge 99% say, okay, if you've decided it, I agree also?
Pretty much, I would say 99% is probably accurate.
Really?
They
I
do
mean, if-
reject some of the recommendations we make. We feel it's far too many, but, they're the judge and they have the little wooden hammer, so. No, basically, there are certain, we try to be consistent, we're always trying to be fair, and there's certain standards that we as prosecutors apply, and we understand the judge's thinking and they understand ours. Now, there's a limit to, you can't go crazy, you can't give things away because somebody's a friend.
Right.
Nothing falls behind the file cabinet anymore, as in
Right.
decades past things might have occurred. But you try to be fair and consistent. And so most of the time, yes, there's an approval of a recommendation that we make.
are there regular court watchers that come and sit in the court and day in and day out just to make sure that there's fairness and there's even-handedness?
I hope not. No, I'm just kidding. The court is open to the public.
Yeah.
Anybody can come in. I mean, defendants have to be there. And although in
you-
our court, we do permit people on certain offenses to do a plea by mail. Or if they're out of town, we have a lot of people traveling through the town from far away. But anyone can come in. I don't know of anyone who specifically sits there and watches everything we
okay.
do. If they want to, they're welcome to.
No, but I didn't know if there's like you would know the regular. I mean, he shows up every week or every.
No, I don't
know,
think
you
so.
would know the
There are
person,
some
so.
people who get tickets who show up far too frequently, and we recognize
Well, it's not
them.
that exciting. It's not Perry Mason.
No,
it's the
I'm just
traffic
wondering
court.
because they
No.
have like a Doris Aiken type with the remove intoxicated
No,
drivers.
there are
She used to
people-
come in the '80s. Used to go
Really?
regularly
Yes.
just to make sure that these adjudications were handled evenly and more strongly.
Yes,
than
there are
they were
people
before
who
then.
have strong positions, such as the individual, and there are others, and it's not inappropriate. They usually are people who have had an experience with tragedies that occur, and they're looking to see that
Yeah.
the justice system is enforced fairly and uniformly,
Well,
and
you
that's
s-
perfectly.
Well, you said people can plead by mail, but even David Cassidy had to show up in Skodak Town Court.
Well, yes. However, it seems, at least that's what's said on the radio today, that he might have said something to the court to get an adjournment that wasn't necessarily the case.
Oh.
When he's, according to the news today, when he said he was in Florida, he was at Saratoga. So
That's right. He was in Saratoga, so they said, "Okay, you have to come now to court." And this is even he had to come to court.
well, I imagine that
As
the
we're
judge
taping.
may have some
As
rather
we're ta-
pointed questions to
As
him.
we're taping, he's in court in Skodak.
Yeah, I
David
heard that on
Cassidy
the
is the
way over.
1960s heartthrob model, star in
Well,
Partridge Families.
but
In
it's
case
not-
you didn't know, I just thought I'd tell you.
It's not smart to mislead a judge.
And that's
So,
true.
Now, I don't know what happened there, but that's what's on the radio.
But just, really, bottom line, when it comes to, there's a lot of money going through you, not your hands. I mean, you're the representative of the court.
Very little through my hands.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that actually, I mean, I saw the statistics once that a good sized percentage of town revenues now was in Colonie. It was, who knows, in New York. But I'm just saying, I'm asking, actually is made up of these ticket revenues.
It is. Well, the town court is a significant part of the overall revenue source for the town budget, but not all of the money goes to the town. And sometimes people come in and they think that they're being fined simply so the town can pay its bills. Actually, there's a division of the proceeds of fines, and most of it goes to the state. The town does get, depending on the ticket and depending on, there are certain divisions. So, but it is a significant revenue source for the town. But on the other hand, our court, we're told through OCA, the Office of Court Administration, that is in the top 10 busiest courts in the state. So, and you come down on a Monday night or a Tuesday, and when we've got 120 people on a calendar, you can believe it.
Mm-hmm. And how many? What is the? How do you and Stan Siegel divide up your schedule in the court?
Well, we don't divide it up. The clerk of the court divides it based upon when the
Okay.
ticket is made returnable, and we have a rotating schedule of when we're on duty. So if somebody gets a ticket, it'll be assigned to me, or it'll be assigned to Stan based on the return date and which of us is on
Right,
duty.
but is it 6 weeks on for you and 6 weeks off? and
No,
then
we
6 weeks-
alternate every other week.
Oh, you're
Mondays and Tuesdays.
Oh, you
we
don't
have
have a
initial
set-
appearances and negotiations on Monday evening,
Yeah,
which could run till 9 o'clock at night.
yeah.
And then on Tuesday mornings, beginning about 8 o'clock, we have court again, and that's when we have additional plea negotiations and trials.
Is it better to see someone like the prosecutor early on or later on when you're tired?
No, it makes no difference. We do get tired, but seriously, most people in their experience with the judicial system, it's limited to coming to a town court or a city court because they might have gotten something like a ticket. And that's the most common experience people have with the judicial system. So we feel it's important that even though they don't like to be there, nobody likes to get a ticket. But we try to, we treat it with courtesy,
Yes.
we try to be fair, we try to move it along as quick as we can, notwithstanding that we're busy. We try to give at least a brief explanation as to why we're recommending what we are so they understand it, and hopefully many of them do. And so it's important, it's not, you don't get short shrift because it's 9 o'clock at night and I haven't had dinner yet.
All right, somebody's trying to get out of
Well, I didn't
it.
know if you're grumpier or if better when you're grumpy
No, I'm
later
never
on, or if
grumpy.
you're, oh, come on.
Okay, well, maybe.
I know you.
Once, maybe.
But then or early on when you're refreshed and you haven't seen all these other...
No, never. I mean, basically cases are, people come in with stories that they all think are unique. It's been a long time since I've heard anything
What-
unique.
What is,
And,
entertain us with some of the,
Well, it's, you
things
know,
that you've
the
heard.
officer had the wrong person. The officer was picking on me. My car won't even go that fast. One person came in to me one time and explained in detail they had one of these smart cars. They're about as big as this table. And they said, and the smart car won't even go as fast as the officer said I was going. And I said, you know what? A friend of mine has one. I've driven it. What's your next best argument? It'll go that fast. So, but basically, a lot of people know when they've done something wrong and are willing to admit to it. And we'll generally try to give them a break if their record is reasonably clean. Other people run up a record that's 3 pages long. And eventually, as I tell them, if you keep this up, you can end up on a bicycle because you won't have a license. And some people just
What you said,
push
you
it until they
sometimes
have
you-
no license.
Sometimes you have trials. What would be a trial? Not like going 10 miles over the speed limit.
Well, you can
What
get a
would be
ticket
typical
for.
trial?
Well, people have a right to request a trial on anything. So if you got a ticket for going 10 miles over the limit, which is a 3-point speeding ticket, even though we might offer some reduction, they don't get thrown out unless there's some defect or some reason why the ticket was improperly written. And then they have a right to a trial. And surprisingly enough, some people, even when they're made a reasonable plea offer, still will request a trial, and then there's a trial.
With 12 jurors?
No.
Oh.
The trials in traffic court are tried before the court, in other words, by the judge. There's no jury. They're
policeman has to
relatively,
come in.
the policeman has to appear, and we present our testimony through the police officers, one at least. Sometimes there are 2 involved, and if there are any other witnesses, primarily it's usually the officers. And then the defendant has the right to cross-examine the officer and testify on their own behalf and present any witnesses or evidence they may have.
and if the officer doesn't show up, the ticket is dismissed.
Well, now we'll give away a trade secret. If the officer doesn't show up and the person makes a motion to dismiss, then I can't prosecute without an officer, and typically that will be granted.
And the-
Sometimes people request a trial just in the hopes the officer won't show up.
That's right.
And when they see me say good morning to the officer, they ask for what their next best option might be. So,
Now, also with, when they do request a trial and it actually gets up in front of the judge,
yeah.
I'm not asking you to speak for the judge.
I
okay?
can't.
I know that. I'm not asking, that's why I'm prefacing this
All right.
that way. But I would presume the judge would be grumpy and saying, what are you wasting our time for? He offered you the plea bargain, now we got to go through this.
No,
And
no.
it probably doesn't hold up very well for the
No,
defendant.
the judges, in fact, and we have 3 judges,
Yeah.
and they're not, you asked before, do I have a bad day or does it get late at night? Well, but they go out of their way to maintain proper judicial demeanor and conduct and treat people with courtesy. And people
Right.
have a legal and constitutional right to have a trial. Well, you want a trial, you'll have a trial.
So the judges don't get upset about the fact that it's something like a 10 mile an hour
No.
over the speed limit? Okay.
They don't get upset. In the end, however, the person may hear them say guilty, and that kind of covers it, and then set the fine. No, they don't get upset. People have a right to
Yeah.
have their day in court, so to speak. They have a right to have a trial. Now, there aren't the vast majority of people who end up in our court don't end up going to trial.
Right.
The vast majority of cases are resolved through some plea negotiation, which is a good thing because if they were all tried, I'd end up living in the courthouse. So
We've had Judge Summers on the show.
he's one of our 3,
Right. And then you have Norm Masry.
correct, and Judge Crummy, who
And
is
Judge
the
Crummy.
senior judge of the 3.
Right. So he sits on vehicle and traffic? Or
He does. They all 3 do,
All
and
3
they
do.
also are on a rotating schedule.
So 2 out of 3 are Jewish.
Happens to be.
Happens to be. With a Jewish view, I got to point it out, so.
Got to do something.
And you and Stan are Jewish, so
Yeah,
there you
well,
go.
But, there are also things, these judges will do other court, you'll say you're only the traffic, exclusively
No,
the
they'll handle
traffic,
also
civil
misdemeanors.
court, or-
They'll handle small claims court and other town ordinance violations. On different days, they'll handle the full gamut.
Who's they?
The 3
3
judges.
Oh, the judges, okay.
So you're exclusive traffic, the other judges.
Stan and I are exclusively traffic prosecutors. And
So-
considering the volume, we're pretty busy.
So you served, I was impressed by this. You retired as a major from the New York Army National Guard.
I did.
And you served in the JAG unit. As a
Most of my
judge
career in
advocate
the
general's corps.
in the Guard and the Reserve before that was in the JAG Corps.
And you were admitted to the United States Court of Military Appeals.
That was during my service with the military, yes.
So, wow, you just toed the line on the.
Well, I enjoyed serving in the Guard. Did so for quite a few years, over 20. And I was fortunate during that time. I never got sent anywhere where somebody was trying to shoot at me or I had to shoot at them, but that was the luck of the draw. Came close once.
Uh-huh.
What is a
But,
lawyer? Why would a lawyer?
Typically, a lawyer wouldn't be, but you never know. When you have things going on such as we have now where hostilities can break out, the distinction between front line and rear lines or rear area often is blurred in modern combat situations. So everybody has to have basic military training. Beyond that, being a lawyer in the Army is not a bad job, but
Where did you go to law school?
I didn't go to law school. I studied law in
Like-
kind of an old-fashioned way. What it's called reading the law. I was a certified law clerk, certified by the Court of Appeals. It's an apprenticeship type program that many years ago was commonplace when there were few law schools. It's sometimes referred to as Lincoln Law because Abraham Lincoln didn't go; it was self-taught. And New York is one of the states that still has that statute on its books, and you can do that. And I had a mentor who was a very special individual, and he encouraged me to do that. It wasn't my idea. His name was Dan Mahoney,
Oh, okay.
prominent local trial lawyer. He's passed on. He's, as he used to say, he's now in the big courthouse in the sky.
But wasn't he with the legislature?
No,
No.
no.
What was he? He was always a judge.
Dan was a private practice attorney.
Yeah.
He was president of the State Trial Lawyers Association. He was the founder of the Capital District Trial Lawyers, which
Okay.
I had the privilege to serve as president of it later on. And he encouraged me to do this. I thought it was a crazy idea in the beginning, but
And you were with the law firm Krupsak and Mahoney.
I was for a period of time. I was.
Now, was that the Krupsak of Mary Ann Krupsak?
That
or-
was Mary Ann, yes.
Okay, former lieutenant governor who ran against Hugh Carey.
She did. Well, she was the lieutenant governor
Under Hugh Carey.
Governor Carey.
And then the second term
And
ran
then
against him.
attempted to run, but unsuccessfully
Right.
against him. But when she left the lieutenant governor's office, she had developed a friendship through legislative issues with my mentor, Dan Mahoney. And when she left the governor's office, they formed a partnership, which involved myself and a late colleague of mine who was her counsel in the governor's office, but who since is also
But she's still with
in
us.
that big courthouse.
But she's still with us, isn't she?
She is, yes.
Yeah. Do you stay in touch with her?
I somewhat. Every now and then I haven't seen her in a while.
Because she was from Canajoharie.
She's Canajoharie,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
She
right.
was elected initially as a senator from Canajoharie.
Right.
And in fact, interestingly, she ran when she first ran for lieutenant governor, she defeated a fellow named Mario Cuomo. So
Okay, and then Mario became Secretary of
became
State.
Secretary of State and ultimately, but yes.
And then he
But
ran.
she ran
yeah.
initially, yeah.
Right, so that's.
Goes way back.
Well, I know. This is the
of
beginnings of my
years.
reporting career, so
Oh, okay.
that's how I remember all this very clearly. I can remember things from 35 years ago better than 35 minutes ago. So,
I know what you mean.
so that's why it's crystal clear. So when I saw Krupsak and Mahoney on your Vita, I said, "Oh, this is. I got to ask you about this."
Well,
you know?
when Mary Ann ran, there were fewer women successfully in politics
Yes,
at the
that's
time, and
true.
she had a clever slogan, a little button. I think I still have one, and it said, "Mary Ann Krupsak. She's not just one of the boys."
That's right. That's great. So what? And
Maybe
then
she's
you.
watching. Hello, Mary Ann.
Okay, you opened your own law firm.
I did.
Also on Elk Street, which was that one of the governor's executive mansions?
it
Because
was
there were
not.
several buildings on
There
Elk
were
Street.
some that were. I was
that
at
are-
number 8 Elk Street,
Yeah.
which in fact had as part of its various incarnations in history, was a radio station at one point. It was
Okay.
WOKO. It was called Radio
Well, did you
Center.
know that, Mark?
1460,
Yeah, why you knew that?
1460 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah, WOKO.
And then it was the first headquarters of CSEA.
Right, okay.
And then it was converted into an office building, and I was there for quite a few years.
That's when I first met you, because you were one of my dear college buddies was working with you, or working for you,
yeah.
Fred Goodman. So
Yes.
that's.
I'm in touch with Fred.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
And who's this Altman and Plain? Is that the Plain bike store? Or?
Well, actually,
Related
Mark
to
Plain
Mark
was
Plain.
with me as an associate for about 10 or 12 years, and he's now lives in New York City and practices there.
Okay, so
but
less.
his family
Yeah.
was the Plain
Right.
boys' bicycle. His father was one of the. His father and his uncles were and I think one of his cousins still now has the store.
So Les Plain has the store,
Yeah.
owns the store, but is that Mark's brother or
No, cousin, I believe.
cousin? They're cousins.
Mark's
okay.
father, George, who's also no longer with us,
Right.
was one of the original proprietors of the store.
So he's with the big bike store in the sky.
He's, yes.
So what have you? What has been your? Now I meant to say this earlier when you were talking about when you were practicing for the bar and you were doing this by reading the law.
Yes,
That you passed the bar in the first time.
I did.
That's phenomenal.
Well,
I just think that's phenomenal because so many people can't and don't.
well, that's true. I did take I took
Now,
a
there was
bar review
less-
course.
There were fewer laws back when you took the bar.
Seemed like a lot to me, but a lot of studying, and sometimes it's as important to be lucky as it is to be good. So,
Right.
you know.
So has all this climaxed for a career for you? In what way? I mean, how is this?
Well, I have an active private practice primarily in litigation and serious personal injury accidents and matrimonial litigation, divorces, family law, and real estate, and general business law. I represent several business associations, labor organizations, and so that's my primary practice. My participation with the town as a prosecutor is on a part-time basis.
And how much
as
does
would
that
stand.
bring in for you money-wise?
Not that much, considering how much time it takes us, and if we figure out how much we're making an
Yeah.
hour, we'll start lobbying for an increase in the minimum wage.
Let me ask you, just it's interesting
no, it's
sitting
not.
here hearing your bio with Mark.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be the prosecutor? You have a thriving business, by yourself. Why would, like you say, it's not the money. It's just
No, it's not the
why
money.
would you?
I was asked if I would be willing to do that, and I thought it's interesting. It puts me on the other side of having defended or represented people throughout my career. It put me on the other side a little bit, and also gave me an opportunity to see many of my colleagues that many years ago, even though not every lawyer goes to court, I do, not every day. But we used to have things such as special term. Any lawyers that are listening will remember that. We all complained about it.
Yeah.
But you got to see and meet your colleagues every week. And names had actual faces. Now, there's much less of that. The court system has evolved in order to be more expeditious. And half the time, particularly with my younger colleagues, names don't have faces. I meet many of them now. And it's nice to just get out and meet the people
Yeah,
and
the
to
court.
serve the community. I was asked, I've been a longtime resident of Colonie, and when I was asked if I would serve the town in that capacity, and it certainly wasn't about the money, but I felt that it'd be nice to give to the community and serve in that capacity. Let's put it this way, you don't make a lot of friends being the prosecutor, but it is an important task, and we try to do it in a way that people appreciate that they get a fair shake when
Is
they
that
have
something
to come to
that
court.
Dan Mahoney instilled in you?
Yes.
That's why you do it.
Well, many of the things I often kid and I say I learned all of his good habits and unfortunately some of his bad ones, but he had a very high reverence for the law and for the service of taking care of people no matter what type of a case it was, and it didn't matter what the value of the case was. It could be a case worth $100,000 or $5,000. It was a matter of seeing that people got their just and fair opportunity to be heard. And yes, a lot of that, I picked up many of my legal
Acumen.
attitudes from Dan.
Well, that's phenomenal. I really, think that you're a testament to the legal system. And,
Well, very kind.
know.
Thank you.
Fred, we want to thank you for being on the show, and you're doing good service not only for the law profession, but for the community, and you
Yes.
continue to do good work with good health.
Well, thank you. It's
All the
very
best of
kind, and I
success.
appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you.